Welcome to the greatest podcast in sports betting entertainment. My name is Tanner Kern, certified G, bona fide stud, and you can't teach that. In this right here, this is G Money Grant Mitchell. We are here breaking down NFL, NBA, everything you need to know, and that's the bottom line. Welcome into Ride the Line. We're changing the intro up a little bit. G Money Grant Mitchell, how you doing?
I'm doing really good, Tanner. It's Friday, so it's hard not to be good. We got NBA playoffs starting next week. I'm still recovering from the high of, coming off vacation. Still struggling to get into the flow of things overall, but I'm doing pretty good.
Do you watch golf at all?
So if I'm with my grandpa, yeah. When I was a little kid, my grandpa loves golf. He's 80 years old. He still goes golfing multiple times a week. When I was a kid, we used to go golfing together, but I really have not been into golf that heavily for probably the last 5 years or so.
Yeah, it's fun to watch. I mean, the Masters, at least. I don't watch all the other tournaments. I think there's not a lot of people that just sit down on their couch and watch golf every weekend. But the Masters has been pretty fun, especially when you're sweating a bet and you're just watching because it's one swing every 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes. And then it really gets you on the edge of your seat, especially when they hit that bad shot. So it's been fun for me watching the Masters, but I'm ready for some NBA playoffs and some NFL.
I wish I could remember who. I don't think it was Scott Van Pelt. It was somebody at ESPN or one of these companies said that they believe golf should introduce a shot clock, kind of like MLB added the pitch clock. And that would obviously completely change the complexion of golf, but it's the way to attract more viewers. It is sacrificing the game to a certain extent. I wonder if that's something they would ever consider.
The golf purist would hate that.
It's so against golf. Golf takes its time more than any other sport.
At least with baseball, the purists didn't necessarily want the pitch clock, but there's so many other people watching the game. Like, you got to cater to kids, you got to cater to younger people, you got to cater to people with low attention spans. Golf, if you're tuning in for golf, chances are you want to watch golf. You want to watch the practice swings and all that. So I don't think they'll ever do that. It'd be a good idea. It's also unfair too, because if one dude's got a rough lie and the other one's in the middle of the fairway, I guess it benefits you for shooting good shots. But it would be really hard to do, I think, where baseball, it's just same, uniform every time.
Or maybe it's like, in the NBA, you get 24 shots, but if there's a foul with 9 seconds, then it resets to 14 seconds. Maybe it's like you get 30 seconds if you're in the rough, 25 in the sand, 15 in the fairway. I don't know how it will work, but I do just wonder what conceptually that would look like.
Yeah, definitely. Anyways, guys, we're talking a little NBA playoffs today, some NFL draft. Win totals have been posted for the NFL, so we're going to talk about those as well. We got a big show planned, so make sure you smash that subscribe button every single Monday or Tuesday. We used to record on Monday, Tuesday, and Friday for Ride the Line. Make sure you guys smash that. And then also WSN.com. Check it out. Sportsbook promos, a lot of good stuff on there. Betting previews, everything you need to know about how to win and be a successful bettor is on WSN.com. Grant, what's up? You ready for some NFL talk?
I'm ready. Let's get into it.
Shedeur Sanders, talk to me.
So his over-under draft odds are at 8.5 right now. It seemed like a slam dunk. He was going in the top 3. Some people saying 1, some 2, some 3. Seemed like for sure he was going to be gone by the 4th pick. Now it's like, hey, his over-under is at 8.5. And I'll tell you what, if he doesn't go at 9 to the Saints, he's sliding probably to at least 20 to the Steelers, if not beyond that. Will Levis, according to Reddit users, was the number 1 pick in the draft, but everybody did think he was going to be 1, 2, 3, somewhere in there, and they ended up falling into the 2nd round. So I think it's still very on the board that this does happen to Shedeur. And honestly, I don't know where you stand on this, but a slide could end up being a blessing in disguise for him, because financially he'll be okay. You can't say that about some of the other quarterbacks that have been drafted, but we know the Sanders family. And if he does slide, he's going to go to a team that's probably more ready to support him than a team that is picking at the top of the draft.
Well, first off, I think, bringing up the Steelers before we even talk about Shedeur, what the hell is going on with their quarterback situation right now? Is Aaron Rodgers going to be playing quarterback for them? Are they going to draft somebody? And that's where it gets interesting too, because if Aaron Rodgers signs with your team, do you maybe go after Shedeur? Do you go after a quarterback, or do you just continue to build your roster and say we're good getting somebody next year? Because the Steelers have been just the free agent kings lately.
So I think that there's a lot of competition for Aaron Rodgers. The Vikings were in, the Colts were in, the Giants were in, the Steelers were in, and all those other teams kind of eventually said, "Look, we need a decision. We don't have a decision. It's not that you said no, or we just don't know. So we're going to go ahead and we're not going to wait around. We're going to make sure that our quarterback spot is solidified." So they went ahead and they did that. The Steelers are really the only team remaining. If Aaron Rodgers is going to play professional football next year, it has to be for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I think they know that. They also know Rodgers isn't in a rush to make his decision. So they're probably saying, you know what, Aaron, take your time. Let us go through this NFL draft. Let us see if we get Shedeur, Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe. And if we do, we can evaluate how we feel about them, how we would feel about your ability to be a leader and a mentor for them, and how we feel about their readiness to get on the field. If we don't think they're ready to play in week one, then sure, we'll bring you in. But if we get one of these guys into our building and they're lighting it up in practice, well, we don't need to sign you anymore.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. The Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes seem to be popping off, and then he just didn't want to sign anywhere. So now it's going to be potentially Pittsburgh or nowhere. I think he may retire, honestly. I think it could be the end of the
I
Aaron
think,
Rodgers
I mean,
era.
really, it has to be the Steelers or retirement. There's no other option.
So if you're Shedeur Sanders now and you don't go to the Saints, which he is favored to go to the Saints right now in all the betting odds, you're probably falling to Pittsburgh. And even then, too, we've heard years where, or we've had this year is a year where if these guys were in last year's draft, they would not be first round options. I wonder if there's a world where Jackson Dart sneaks ahead of Shedeur Sanders.
So sneaks ahead, I don't think so. Let's just say if Shedeur does end up going 3 to the Giants like everybody thought for a while, I think Dart could have gone 20 to the Steelers. Or let's say Shedeur, let's say Shedeur goes, let's say it's Cam Ward 1, Shedeur 9 to the Saints. I think Dart could go to the Steelers, but I don't see Dart making the leap past Shedeur. This is my problem, right? I I don't like, it sets off alarm bells in my head when a player is looked at as a better prospect when they're not playing football. This is why I have so many reservations about Shamar Stewart. But you know what? At least he went to the combine and put up these freakish numbers and graded as the most athletic edge rusher in the history of the combine. Jackson Dart didn't do anything. His season ended, and then people went back and said, you know what? This guy was actually better than we thought. Let's go ahead and draft him high. It makes me feel a little uneasy.
Well, it's the prototypical quarterback build too, and I think Jackson Dart had big numbers at Ole Miss. He's a prototypical pocket passer, NFL kind of guy. And there seems to be some reservations on Shedeur just in general. Not in the sense of you're signing the Dion crew, which I don't know if you want to sign the Dion crew or not. That's up to these teams, but there's going to be something that comes with that. And then also, there's a lot of stuff on film that's concerning with Shedeur Sanders. So I think teams are starting to see that. And you're not going to get Jackson Dart jumping Shedeur. And there's obviously concerning things with Jackson Dart on film too. They're all young and rookies. You don't know how they're going to progress. But if I was Shedeur Sanders, I'd be good going to New Orleans. I would rather go to New Orleans than go to Pittsburgh because I'm in a dome, warm weather for a lot of my games rather than playing in the cold in Pittsburgh in a situation where I might have to be the guy right away. So going later, you're going to end up with less money and you might be forced to be on the field. Where with New Orleans, I can't imagine he's starting week one over Derek Carr. I just couldn't see it.
Also, it's a better. I think it's honestly a better coaching situation. I think Mike Tomlin's a better coach than Kellen Moore. I don't think that's a crazy thing to say, obviously. But what have the Steelers done with their quarterbacks? They had Ben Roethlisberger for that whole era. He overstayed his welcome. They tried to replace him with Mason Rudolph and Kenny Pickett and a couple other guys, and it just never worked. And Russell Wilson, because they gave up and they said, okay, we'll take a veteran we know isn't the answer. The Steelers team has been a very boring, archaic, defensive-minded team for a long time. They went out and they got DK Metcalf, so That should help from a talent perspective, but also how is a locker room with DK Metcalf and George Pickens? How's that going to be for a rookie quarterback to walk into? With Arthur Smith calling plays, and we know how frustrated he's made to his fans with the Steelers, fans with the Falcons. I don't think that that's a better situation than going to a place with Kellen Moore and some talented receivers and a talented running back, knowing that Kellen Moore has worked with Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert, Dak Prescott, and he's had success with all of those guys.
And the Buccaneers own the NFC South, but other than that, that's a pretty wide open division. I think Carolina is going to be a lot better this year, especially if Bryce Young continues to take those steps forward. The Saints are going to be good at some point. We know that. This is a division where you can see the Saints within a year or two probably sneaking back in there and becoming the favorites. But obviously, right now, it's the Buccaneers division to lose. Atlanta is going to be good as well. But it's a much more wide open division than having to go play in the AFC North, because that's going to be brutal for a young quarterback. So if I was Shedeur, I'd be praying I go to the New Orleans Saints. I think that's a town that you can become the face of pretty easily, especially if you're winning. Where Pittsburgh, not saying you can't, but it's just going to be a lot harder to win early in the AFC North, especially when the standard has been set that this is a 9-8 football team. We go to the playoffs, we lose in the first round. Like, people, it's a big accomplishment to be a Pittsburgh Steeler, to continuously go to the playoffs. But at the same time, too, you're not taking the next step forward. You're going 9-8. And at the end of the year, everyone calls for Mike Tomlin. Like, he's a great coach. But there's always the Mike Tomlin critics saying, well, we're just doing the same thing year after year. What's the big deal about making the playoffs? We would rather make a push and not make the playoffs every year and try to go for it one year.
So looking at the order of picks, there's really just not that many spots where Shedeur could go. The Titans at number 1, they're probably going to take Cam Moore. That seems to be the consensus. The Browns appear to be out of the quarterback running. The Giants at 3 could take him, but again, they appear to be out of it. They have already got 3 quarterbacks. You look at this board, the Jets at 7, it's possible, but Tyrod's there and Justin Fields is there, and they gave Fields a 2-year contract. They probably want to work it with him. The Saints at 9, which we're talking about, that's a big one. The Colts at 14, yeah, they have Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones. Not saying that either one of those guys are the future of the franchise, but it doesn't seem like they're ready to draft a quarterback there. The Steelers at 21. And other than that, where's the team? I don't think there's another team on this list that wants to draft a quarterback.
No, especially this year.
Oh, yeah. Next year, when you've got, we'll see how Drew Aller does, Arch Manning, obviously all those guys. I think Nico, right? Nico's going to be available. There's a lot more talent, or at least players that have potential in next year's draft.
Well, like, there's teams that could use a quarterback. Like, I would say, the Colts would be a team that, if there was a generational prospect that was right there for the taking, I would say the Colts would be one of those teams that might take a shot, right? There's a lot of teams who aren't quarterback sound necessarily right now. And that's where, you'd get those teams reaching for a quarterback and saying, we're good, taking a guy and mentoring him a little bit. But this year, it's not the case. You look at the back half, Eagles have a quarterback, Chiefs, Bills. And obviously when you're picking late, you have a quarterback, Commies have a team, Lions, Ravens, Rams, Texans, Vikings, and Vikings too. That's an interesting one. I don't know how JJ McCarthy is going to be this year. I'm very excited to see it, but I think they're going to take a significant step back.
Okay. When you say that, do you mean from team record or quarterback play?
Well, I mean, probably both, I would say. I mean, team record, I would say the biggest, because Darnold didn't light the world on fire. He was very efficient with the football, but I think his efficiency worked in that offense.
Yeah, that's the thing. We got to keep in mind, Kevin O'Connell has gotten great years out of anybody that's been there. I mean, they were solid with Josh Dobbs there. So JJ, I think he'll be fine. I mean, they've got so many weapons. I trust them. They're probably going to get a really good pick in this draft, just because this draft is so loaded in kind of the middle area. And they've got one of the best defenses in football. So I think JJ will be fine. Certainly, I don't think they're going to be looking to replace him after 1 year.
No.
What I was reading Mel Kiper Jr.'s newest mock draft, and he had the in the second round, the Browns pick first, the Giants pick second. He had them both taking quarterbacks. That would be the first time in NFL history that's happened. Fun fact: never in round 2 have quarterbacks gone 1-2. But if Shedeur is going to slide like we're talking about, what if he gets to round 2 when the Browns and Giants come back around? I think they would definitely take him there. So I think this almost becomes a matter of we had the Saints at 9, the Steelers at 21. I think he has to go to one of those two, or he does end up kind of getting recycled to those teams that were picking in the top 3 just in round 2 instead of round 1.
Well, if you're Cleveland, you have no rush to take a quarterback. There should be no desire. Get your skill player, get your Travis Hunter, and then just sit back and wait because nobody wants to take quarterback. New Orleans, Pittsburgh, but you're still probably going to land a high profile guy. And realistically, if New Orleans does go quarterback, Pittsburgh does go quarterback, which who knows if they will or not at that point. You're looking at the fourth best option. There might be a world too where if you're the Browns, you take your top, you trade back potentially if you can live without a Travis Hunter and get another first round pick, get your quarterback that you want, and then get another good option.
So moving this on over from the young guys to the guys who are already there, Tanner. Dallas Cowboys. They have a projected win total of over under 7.5 wins, coming off a year in which they went 7-10. The Eagles are the reigning league champions. The Commanders are the conference runner-ups. The New York Giants are making some strides. Russell Wilson is there. They're improving. If you were to bet right now, Dallas Cowboys, you going over or under 7.5 wins?
I'm going to say over. Just looking at the schedule. So you're going to go division games, figure you probably sweep the Giants. Nah, maybe not. 1-1 against the Giants, right? Eagles, 0-2, maybe pull off one. Commanders, I'm going to say they split against the Commanders, Grant. I'm sorry. There's going to be a step back there. There's 2 wins right there. Packers, you're going to lose to. Chiefs, you're going to lose to. Chargers, probably lose to. I think you're going to beat the Vikings. You get 3 wins there. Cardinals, you're going to have 4 wins. Then you go away. So we talked about the splits already. Bears, I think you're going to beat the Bears. That's 5 wins. Broncos, tough. Lions, Raiders, 6 wins. Jets, 7 wins. Panthers, 8 wins. Like that. That's what it is right there.
So you think this 7.5 line is right
That's
on
perfect.
where it should be?
I mean, that's perfect because I wasn't even trying to hit 8 games there. I just did it. That's perfect.
So I'm going to take the under. And I know that sounds a little blasphemous because they did win 7 games with Dak being injured, with CeeDee Lamb being injured, right? But I think one of the things we forget about that is more important than arguably anything aside from the quarterback is who's your head coach. Who is the Cowboys head coach? Schottenheimer was one of the most underwhelming hires of the last however many years. Jerry Jones seems to have completely lost it from a roster management sort of perspective. This Cowboys team does not have talent. They've got Micah, they've got CeeDee, they've got Dak. There's really nothing else at the left for the rest of this team. The Commanders, even if they take a step back, still a lot better than the Cowboys. Eagles, even if they take a step back, still a lot better than the Cowboys. And the Giants, I think, took steps forward. You mentioned you were going to go 2-0 against the Giants, and then you thought about it. It's like, you're probably going to get a split. I agree. I think the Giants are going to split there. So while the Cowboys might have an easier schedule, they've got a third-place schedule, I think they're just going to get worse overall. I think this is a 6-7 win team.
I think it's right at 7 if they go under. I don't think it's 6. They should. There are winnable games on here. But you gotta beat a couple good teams to hit that 8-win mark. I think they're going to do it. I'm not super concerned. I wouldn't bet it. This would be one I stay away from because when you look at these blue blood NFL teams, you don't want to say they're going to be bad because they always not the Cowboys necessarily, but the teams with money and teams that have just consistently been okay. Like Dallas has been okay, right? Like they haven't been the authority in the conference, but they've been okay. So that's the situation where I'm like, I don't want to take a Dallas Cowboys blue blood team to win 7 games. That's going to be very hard because more times than not, they're going to have the resources to potentially figure it out. And I think they could sneak to 8. 9's was pushing it, but 8 games is definitely in reach this season.
Well, another team that 8 games is in reach for, the Chicago Bears. Over under 8.5 wins. There is juice on the under, -140 for that, +120 for over 8.5. Which one you going with?
Can we just first off talk about the Bears were like a 9.5 win team last year, I believe, or were they were 8.5?
It would be either 8.5 or 9.5. Yeah.
What is up with that? just like looking back on it from a
I mean,
bookmaking.
they were 5-2, right? And then they
Yeah.
finished 5-12.
That was the biggest fluke 5-2 football team we've ever seen. So the Chicago Bears right now, I got to pull up the opponents. I can't do it off the top without the opponents. Bears
I
opponents. I mean,
respect that. You're actually trying to work it out on the schedule instead of just giving a top of your head. What do you think?
my initial thought before I even see the home and road matchups is they're going under, but that's me. Lions. So home 1, 2, 3. Okay, ready? Lions. I think you're going to get swept by the Lions still. I still don't. Bringing a coach over, I don't think makes you beat the Lions one. So I think you swept by the Lions. I think you're going to split with the Packers. So that's one win right there. Vikings, you're probably going to split with. That's 2 wins. Cowboys. So I said the Cowboys were going to beat the Bears, so I guess I have to stick with that. That's still 2 wins. Giants, I think you're going to beat them. That's 3 wins. Browns, you beat them. That's 4 wins. You lose to the Steelers. You beat the Saints. That's 5 wins. Ravens, you're going to lose to. Bengals, you lose to. Eagles, you lose to. Commanders, you probably lose to. Let's just put it this way. In that stretch, you win one of those games. I think you go 1-3 there. So that's 6 wins. Not 49ers, you might beat. That's 7 wins. And then Raiders, 8 wins. So, I mean, I think that again, right on 8.5 minus 140 with the under. I think 8 wins.
So I don't have a particular lean here. I think it is going to be an 8-9, 9-8 sort of season for them. I'm not going to bet either side of this. I would be inclined, I think, to take the over just because I think the biggest chance they have here is that all the other NFC North teams sort of take a step back. The Lions, their personnel is probably going to get better because Aiden Hutchins is going to be healthy and all that, but they did lose both coordinators, and that's important. The Bears have rebuilt their offensive line. I think that's big in that division, especially. The Vikings were outstanding on offense, outstanding on defense. Even if they go to great on both sides, that's a step back. The Packers, a lot of people are waiting for Jordan Love to make this leap. I don't see it coming. I think we kind of know what he is at this point. I mean, he's been in the NFL for like 6 years now. And I know he hasn't been playing for all of them, but I feel like he is what he is. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to make some big plays as well, but I don't feel like he's a guy who's going to consistently win you 13 or 14 games in a season. And overall, if they go into this draft and kind of like I expect them to, I think they're getting either Tyler Warren or Ashton Genty with that pick. I believe, what are they, 10? Yeah, with the 10th pick. I think that completely makes this one of the most unstoppable offenses in the NFL if Caleb Williams is that guy. And Ben Johnson is supposed to be this offensive guru, supposed to be able to get the best out of everybody. Caleb put up impressive numbers, even though they weren't really impressive performances. If he starts to translate that, I think there's a leap and this team goes over.
I'm taking the under, Grant. They have not won over 8 games. They've won over 8 games 2 times since 2012.
They're a cursed franchise.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like the New York Jets last year, their win total was 9.5. I think some places had 10.5 for plus money. They're just a bad franchise. There's teams that do it right. There's teams that do it wrong. And I do have my concerns about Ben Johnson. Like he might be this offensive-minded guru, but can he be a head coach? We don't know. And you never know that for these coordinators. Dan Campbell is a head coach. Like he can rally the troops. He's a leader of men. Ben Johnson, you rarely see him open his mouth. The first time I saw him have personality was on Part of My Take. So I can't necessarily say he's going to be that head coach yet. We don't know how he's going to be. And then Caleb Williams, like obviously made some huge plays, did a lot of stupid things with the football. I think Ben Johnson's going to help him a lot, but I can't get behind a cursed franchise that has gone over this win total 2 times in the past 17 years.
And you know what's funny? I don't think Dan Campbell would be a good coordinator. Those are they're completely different roles.
But you can't. Yeah, but that's the thing. The head coach has to be the leader. Like you can be X's, you got to be X's and O's guys too. Going right, get a manage game. Like Dan Campbell, from managing a game perspective, he's terrible at it. He runs fakes when he shouldn't. He doesn't. He's going for it every 4th down. That's not smart football. And I know that's how they got there, but that's also going to shoot you in the foot too. So if you can live with that, great. But Dan Campbell does not manage a game well. He is a leader of men. Where Ben Johnson, I can't sit here and say he's going to be this leader of men. He also talked bad about Jared Goff right after he got the job. And I
Yeah.
didn't like that a lot either. So
No, that did set something off in my head too, because I did hear that and think that's not what a head coach is supposed to do.
if you're throwing Jared Goff under the bus, like the guy who just, Detroit's going to build a statue of him if he wins the Super Bowl. Like, what are you going to do to Caleb Williams? Because Caleb Williams is supposed to be that guy. Are you going to throw him under the bus? Because there's a lot of opportunities to do that. So I have my fears and my reservations about this Bears team.
Another cursed franchise, the Cincinnati Bengals. They are at over under 9.5 wins. Is Joe Burrow going to score 50 points per game? And if so, are they still going to lose? Over under 9.5. Juice is on the over, Tanner. Where are you going here?
Over 100. I know I have to look at the schedule over because they have their offense. There were so many opportunities for them to win more games last year. And I know the defense was just horrendous, but even early in the season when the offense wasn't cooking, you beat the Patriots in week 1. And I know we think back to that game, or it's harder to think back to that game because week 1, that was a 7-point favorite. You should have won. You didn't score at all. Bad coaching on both sides of the ball. And if you win that, you're in the playoffs. So it's really hard to say Cincinnati wasn't a legitimate contender last season. They were a legitimate contender without a defense, which is just crazy to say. Okay, so let me look at these opponents here. The way they do it's really weird on their site. Okay, they do it so weird. I don't like how they do this, but here we go. All right, home 2025 opponents. Patriots. They're going to smack the Patriots this year. Jets. You're going to beat the Jets. You're going to beat the Jags. There's 3 wins right there. Bears, you're going to beat. That's 4 wins. I think you lose to the Lions. You're 4-1. Arizona, you are going to be 5-1. Steelers. Now you get to your division games. I'm just going to say you're going to split with every divisional opponent. So let's say you win the 3 home games. So 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we go to the road games. Bills, probably I'll say a loss on the road. You're still at 8 wins. Dolphins, you're going to win. That's 9 games. Broncos, tough one, maybe 10 games. I don't know. It doesn't matter at that point. You still already have went over. It was 8.5, right? Or 9.5?
9.5, yep.
Okay, so you're at 8 going to the Broncos. 9 Vikings, you have a chance to win. That's 10. When you split with all your divisional opponents, Packers, you probably can beat. That's 11. And then you're splitting with the divisional team. So if you go 1-1 in the division, you're out of conference or out of division schedule. It's very manageable here.
I'm going under here. This Bengals team, what did they do? How did they get better in the offseason? I don't think there's anything you can point to. You can say their defense was so bad. There's no way that they're that bad again. Well, what if Joe Burrow just had the best year of his career? What if Jamar Chase just had the best year of his career? What if Trey Hendrickson just had the best year of his career? Expecting that sort of production from those guys is not sustainable. And yes, they went 9-8 last year, but here are the quarterbacks that they beat: Bryce Young, Daniel Jones, Deshaun Watson / Dorian Thompson-Robinson / Jameis Winston. All 3 of them played in that game. Gardner Minshew, Cooper Rush, Mason Rudolph, Dorian Thompson-Robinson again, Bo Nix in overtime, and Russell Wilson. I didn't mention anybody that's a top 20 quarterback in the NFL.
So they won the games they were supposed to win. And I think back to the Ravens game, the one where it was whatever, it was almost 100-point score between the 2 teams. That was a game they should have won. Like, they should have beat the Patriots. There were multiple opportunities there to beat these good teams. Not saying the Patriots were good last year, but there were multiple chances to win these games that the defense just needed to be a little better. Like, the offense does not need to do what they did last season. The defense just has to be slightly better than where they were last year. Like, you don't need the Joe Burrow legacy year. You just need Joe Burrow to be good enough to win. And defensively, you got to get better. But that's why they brought in Al Golden. Not saying they made a ton of changes in the offseason. They might have gotten worse defensively. But I think a coach makes such a big difference. A coach makes a big difference, Grant.
And I think Lou Anarumo is a great coach. I think they got it wrong. I think it was a personnel issue.
Maybe. But when you're giving up that many points to your scapegoat. And I think Lou Anaromo was good in the Super Bowl run. Like he was really good during that. I think that was where it became a little more like, oh, this Bengals defense can kind of keep them going here with Joe Burrow playing quarterback. But now, when you're giving up a million points a game, you're going to get fired. Al Golden comes in, maybe he makes a difference. Look at the Eagles. That personnel, and they were bad with great personnel. And then this year, it's the same personnel, and they light the world on fire. Definitely added some pieces, but a coach can make a huge difference. So let's see what happens. You can't be as bad on defense as you were last year. There's just no excuse for that. They're going to be better in some regard. You just got to be good enough on offense to win games. And you have Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is filthy.
Last one. We'll keep this going in future episodes of the show. So guys, if you want to see where we're going, make sure you do hit that subscribe button. Last one here. Let's go out west. San Francisco 49ers. They are at over under 10.5 wins, minus 130 on the under, plus 110 on the over. This is a team that went 6-11 last year, I believe. Obviously suffered some injuries. Where are you going? Over under 10.5.
It feels so high, doesn't it?
It feels super high. So if I look through here, you've got the Eagles and the Chiefs at 11.5. And I believe those are the only 11.5. So that would mean the 49ers are tied for the second highest projected total.
They have an easy schedule, though, looking at it. They do a very easy schedule. Cardinals, you're going to beat. Rams, you're going to split with. Seahawks, you're going to split with. So right there's 3 wins. Falcons, you're going to beat. There's 4 wins. Panthers, you're going to beat 5 wins. Jaguars, you're going to beat 6 wins. Titans, 7 wins. Bears, 8 wins. Cardinals, if you sweep the Cardinals, that would be 9 wins. But I'll say they split with them. So 8, you split with the Rams. You're going to split with the Seahawks. And then you go Browns, that's 10 wins. 9 wins. Texans could be 10 wins. Colts, 11 wins. Saints, 12 wins. Giants, 13 wins. They're going to lose to the Bucs. Like that's an easy schedule. Oh my God.
That's one of the easiest schedules you could possibly get.
Hammer the over there. If they don't go over with that schedule, I don't know what to say.
I was so ready to call this an under. Seriously, we're talking about teams getting worse. I think the chemistry is in disarray over there to a certain extent. They ripped the whole building down. Brock Purdy is finally going to have to prove it on his own. The offensive line is not good. Trent Williams is 37 years old. Ayuk's coming off an ACL. McCaffrey is coming off of everything in the book, and he can't stay healthy to begin with. Hufanga's gone. Greenlaw's gone. They don't have a lot of depth on the defensive line. I was ready to hammer this under until you read that schedule. That is literally the easiest schedule they could have gotten.
Yeah, I mean, playing against the NFC South makes it easy.
They got a fourth place schedule too. I mean, they finished 4th, but like, wow. So you finished on 13 wins. I think they're going to be a lot worse than we're used to. So I think they'll lose some unexpected games there. But even still, like they could go 11-6 pretty easily.
I gave them 13 wins, splitting every division game. And but maybe not 13. I was just ripping off what's a winnable game. Like they should be 11 plus. There's no excuse not to be 11 plus, especially coming off a bad season. That's a very winnable schedule right there.
And juice is on the under at minus 130. It's plus 110 for the over. We're gonna have to revisit that when the season gets closer and the NFL draft is done because I want to take a look at that. But yeah, that schedule is insane.
Yeah, I'm not betting any win totals until we get closer. I can't even think of NFL right now. I'm just locked. I mean, I can think of it, but I can't think of putting money down and letting it sit this long, not knowing what injuries are going to take place. Like I would rather wait for information and see how teams are looking in camp and all that before I bet any of these.
Well, I mean, we can't think of NFL because the big thing going on right now is NBA. It's almost NBA playoffs time.
It is almost NBA playoffs time, and the Celtics are going back-to-back world champs.
So we were talking about the Oklahoma City Thunder on the last show, Tanner. We've got, I think the final day of the regular season is Sunday, if I'm not mistaken, and I believe the play-in starts on Tuesday. So Thunder, obviously the 1 seed in the West. That competition between 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 out West right now, you've got the Nuggets and the Clippers are both 18 games behind. The Warriors, Grizzlies, and Timberwolves are all 19 games behind. So if I'm going to read you these teams, I want you to tell me who you think the Thunder are trying to avoid here. So you've got the Nuggets, Clippers, Warriors, Grizzlies, and Timberwolves. As it stands right now, the Grizzlies and Timberwolves would be in the play-in tournament.
Who the Thunder are trying to avoid?
Yeah, I mean they're probably going to get, the Kings or the Mavericks, whoever wins that's probably going to be the 8th seed. But in the event that, well, actually no, what am I talking about? It's going to be the Timberwolves playing one of the Kings or Mavericks, and then they would become the 8th seed as it stands right now, because the Timberwolves are the 8th seed. So who do the Thunder want to avoid?
I mean, I think in the play-in teams, who do they want to avoid right now?
Yeah,
I mean, I don't think you want to see Minnesota. I don't think you
I
want to see
I
Anthony
definitely
Edwards.
don't think they don't want to see him.
Yeah, I would say Anthony Edwards is the guy I don't really want to see. But there's a lot of teams I don't necessarily want to see in the West. Like the West is brutal. It's not going to be easy. Even getting the Lakers, and the Lakers sent a message. Like even the second game against the Thunder, they sent a message there. That game was close for a while, and then OKC pulled away. But
Well,
they're
let me jump in here. They were up by 1 when Luka got ejected, and it fell apart from there. But that was halfway into the fourth quarter, and the league office rescinded the technical, basically saying it shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, so there's a lot of moments there in that series where you can say, hey, a Western Conference Finals between these two teams is going to be intense if the Lakers can get there. The Lakers don't have an easy path either by any means, so it's going to be interesting. I don't want to see Anthony Edwards. If I'm the Thunder, I don't really want to see Ant. I wouldn't want to see any team that we know can figure it out. Like even Denver, and I know they're just coming off fire in Michael Malone, which is absolutely absurd to me at this point in the season. But if Denver were to figure it out as bad as they've played, they still can compete with Oklahoma City. So if I'm OKC, I don't want to see the team with the high profile name. I want to see the teams that don't have the guy that can just go off and take series over.
So looking at this, it just jumped into my head that the Western Conference standings remind me of the NFL draft, because it's like at the top, we know what's going to happen. We know the Thunder are going to be there. We know the Cavs are going to be there. We know the Celtics are going to be there. But the strength of the NFL draft is at the end of round 1, round 2, round 3. There's so many talented guys there, so many guys that can be day 1 starters later than you normally would get them in the draft. Looking at this Western Conference standings, we know the Thunder are the 1 seed. They locked it up. We know the Rockets are the 2 seed. They locked it up. The Lakers, the Nuggets, the Clippers, the Warriors, the Grizzlies, and the Timberwolves. All of those teams could be in the conference finals. I
Yeah.
think the Grizzlies are the least likely of them. But if they get hot, they were the 2nd seed in the West for most of the season until it kind of fell apart over the last month. So yeah, this conference is loaded. And ironically, the Lakers, I guess you would say the Rockets are in the best position because they are the 2 seed and they get home court advantage. But I think everybody would take the Lakers to beat the Rockets in a 7-game series. So I think the Lakers might actually be in a better position than the 1 seed, because right now the 1 seed is on pace to get the Nuggets in the second round, which, like you said, that's not going to be easy. And in the first round, it's going to be one of the Warriors, Grizzlies, or Timberwolves. And that's not an easy first round series.
No, not at all. And the fact that you're getting OKC for minus 155 right now, I think's insane. You look at the Eastern Conference getting the Celtics minus 145, Cavs plus 185. That's probably going to be close to the series price. Like I would say Cavs plus 150 maybe, Celtics minus 170 if you want to get to that point. But that's going to be the series price. Where in the West, OKC coming off the disappointing end last year, they got a lot of teams they're going to have to work through there. I can't imagine looking at them right now for minus 155 and being comfortable with that.
And I wish I could. Let me see if I can find this stat. I might have said it on a previous show, but basically the Thunder have not been that good against the top teams in the league. Here it is. I got it. OKC is 9-12 against the Nuggets, the Mavericks, the Rockets, the Warriors, the Timberwolves, and the Lakers. Actually, I think that might be 10-12 now because of the second win against the Lakers. But still, that's a losing record against most of the top teams in the West.
They beat the teams they're supposed to beat, and they struggle against the teams that are good. And the Lakers present so many challenges to them. Just with Luka, the fact that Luka can take a series over, then you have LeBron, and then Austin Reeves. Did you see the graphic on Twitter the other day? Austin Reeves outplaying Jaylen Brown this season.
I didn't see that. No, what was it?
It was just their stats lining up this season. It's like Austin Reeves has been better than Jaylen Brown in a lot of areas. Jaylen Brown's been hurt. I don't want to get after Jaylen Brown, but Austin Reeves is playing like a dog. Lakers got a lot of dogs, Grant.
Well, I saw a picture or graphic over the last 15 games. I'm trying to remember this off the top of my head, so bear with me. But I want to say over the last 15 games, Luka was averaging 38-7. LeBron was averaging 23-7-7, and Reeves was averaging 25-6-5.
They got dogs. They're going to be tough to beat. OKC is not going to have an easy time in the West. They're not going to run through the West. And it might happen earlier than the conference finals. It might happen in the conference finals, but there's going to be a moment there where they struggle. Because if they're not getting foul shots, not getting their free throws, that takes a huge element of their game away and opens up the door for anyone to beat them, especially a Lakers team that's got the experience with LeBron. You have the dog with Luka. You have Austin Reeves. You got guys that play really well together. So that's going to be interesting. And then Golden State, too. Like even a Golden State team that can get hot at the right time. You still have Steph Curry. Denver with Jokic. There's a lot of teams here that can compete.
Yeah, that first round series, which we might get, Lakers Warriors, because that's what it would be right now. That's the 3-6. Now, the Warriors do have a tough time ahead of them. So they've got the Trailblazers tonight. They should beat them. Obviously, that would be good for them. But then they get the Clippers on Sunday as one of the final games of the entire slate. And the Clippers have been awesome over the last couple of months. They're probably going to be favored. I don't know if they're at home or on the road. The Clippers are probably going to be favored in that. And so if the Warriors go 1-1 and either one of the Timberwolves or the Grizzlies go 2-0, that means the Warriors would then fall into the play-in tournament. So let me see. So the Timberwolves' next two games are the Nets and the Jazz. You should go 2-0 in those. You really should. It's hard to find an easier schedule. And then the Grizzlies' next two games are, now they've got it tough. They've got the Nuggets and the Mavericks. So they're probably not going to go 2-0 in those. So I would say right now, I think the Warriors are going to lose to the Clippers. So I think you're going to get the Timberwolves as the 6, and then you're going to get the Warriors and the Grizzlies in the play-in. And that would mean it would be Lakers Timberwolves in the first round.
Which is a good matchup for the Lakers, as long as you can contain Ant-Man.
Is it a good matchup?
I think it's better than the Warriors.
I think they're both difficult, honestly. I think they both present very different challenges. I guess just for the simple fact that Jimmy Butler is so much of a question mark, right? Because he could drop a 40-point triple-double. If playoff Jimmy is still alive, then that's an issue. If you have playoff Jimmy with Steph, I would want to play the Wolves over that. But this is also a Wolves team that got to the Western Conference Finals last year, and they beat the Nuggets after trailing by 20 in Game 7.
Which doesn't happen a lot either. Keep that in mind.
No, I mean, it doesn't.
Those games, it's like I almost look at it like, well, you still were down 20 points. You found a way to come back. I think that's more the other team letting you back in the game too than you actually coming in and taking it over.
That would be part of it, but I think there is also, in a weird way, even though OKC is the best defensive team in the league, I think the Timberwolves might be better suited to guard the Lakers because you have Jaden McDaniels on Luka, Julius Randle on LeBron, and Anthony Edwards on Austin Reeves, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker coming off the bench. That's works. Those are probably the best defensive matchups you could have, and you have Rudy Gobert inside.
Yeah, Grant, I'll say this too. The NBA playoffs, way too long. Way too long.
I can get why you would say that, but I like it just because I like holding on to, playoff sports, whatever it is.
I agree with that, but the season ends right before the 4th of July. We're talking about this like it's the playoffs and we got months of basketball ahead.
I'm excited for it.
I'm excited for it too. I'm not saying I'm not, but I like the play-in, and I understand the concept of the play-in to give us more teams. I think it would be better to do a 6-team playoff, get the 1 and 2 a bye, have the 4 battle out and say no play in. I would rather I think just for the sake, it's not, again, you want more basketball. Fans want more basketball, but I would rather give the 1 and 2 a bye, personally.
That's just a lot of time off. That's a
It
huge
is.
advantage for them.
Then play a 3-game series. Do those early games as a 3-game
Now that's an idea.
and do them all at the higher seeds.
I
Like that.
believe they used to do that back in the, I think it was 3 games early on and then 5 as it progressed, and then it went to like 3, 5, 7, and eventually became everything 7.
I didn't think about the rest component either, because like even the the Celtics, the Thunder. I mean, I've been watching the Celtics more. Like they're giving their guys breaks. Like no one's really playing right now, so they do have a lot of time off coming to these playoff series.
Well, that's also why it's so important to not be in the play-in, because if you're not in the play-in, you get an extra week of rest while those guys are fighting for their lives.
Yeah, definitely. But Celtics are still going to beat everybody. I'm not super concerned about that. I would like to see Celtics Lakers. That would be really cool.
Yeah, especially because
Warriors,
it was Luka versus the Celtics last year, and so you would get that rematch.
I also think Celtics Warriors would be cool. Not Celtics Warriors would be cool, but I think Celtics versus Thunder would be cool in the sense of the Thunder are that next Celtics team, I think. And it would be cool to see Jason Tatum put somebody in their place a little bit and say, hey, we still control the league. So no matter who the Celtics get, it's going to be fun.
You know what would be fun, and it's not going to happen, but Lakers Cavs would be fun too. LeBron against the Cavs.
Nobody would care about that. Nobody would care. Literally, nobody would.
It would get the lowest ratings of all those, but it would still be cool.
Like LeBron's too removed from Cleveland to make that an interesting series.
Did you know that LeBron has spent more time on the Lakers than any team in his career?
Which is wild to even think about.
Yeah, like he's an old man now.
I don't even think, when I think of LeBron, I don't necessarily think of Cleveland. Like, I think of more that Miami. I think of where he won a title first.
I mean, I think all 3 of them are right answers at this point.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of the face. I think of him as LA. He's got a Barbie doll now too, so I think of him as LA more than like small market Cleveland.
You gonna get one?
No, hell no. You gonna get one?
I can put it up on my shelves back here. Get a LeBron Barbie doll.
There's like a purse on him. No, I don't want that. Get that away from me. They should have made a Lakers one. They should make like a Lakers action figure.
I don't know how much creative control he had over that.
Yeah, just sign the check and make the bread.
Yeah.
But anyways, Grant, that was Ride the Line for Friday, April 11th. We'll be back on Tuesday with another episode. Why don't you take us out here today, Grant?
Guys, please, before you click off, make sure you do 2 things. Hit the like button, hit that subscribe button. And if you have any extra motivation, tell Tanner and I what you think of our takes, what we got right, what we got wrong. Are we going over or under? Where's Shedeur falling? Who's going to win the West play-in? All that great stuff. Jump in the comments. We will be responding to everybody. Enjoy your weekend. And until next time, we will catch you all on the next episode of Ride the Line.